Welcome back to the Cougar Connection podcast. I'm Mr. Wherley. We decided in our class to interview some of our retirees. And today I have with me Mrs. Pam Babbs, who was at Illini Central when I got here. We've worked together for the past 21 years. I appreciate you sitting down with me today as we record this. It's good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Even though we're doing it for the second time, you've already done it. We had technical issues earlier in the week, so we'll do it again. So our first question that the kids came up with was, how long have you been here at Illini Central?
Well, I have been at Illini Central 34 years because I was here when Illini Central was born, so to speak.
Right.
This is my 35th year of teaching because I taught 1 year at Easton in the high school, and then consolidation happened, and
Right.
I've been here ever since. So.
Yeah. So it's been you and Camber talked when you recorded yours the other day that you did get to see the beginnings of Illini Central because, like you said, it was Easton, San Jose, and Mason City when you got here. So the first year you were here, they weren't together, and then you got to see that whole thing. So it's probably kind of neat to see how that came together in some ways.
Yeah, it is, because when you look back and you think of how Illini Central has evolved, we started out as just the high school.
Right.
We consolidated just the high school. Each district was going to keep their K-8 buildings.
Right.
And then, money, budget, whatever happened, and then we slowly started.
Right.
The grade school came over here, the middle school stayed there. Well, no, actually, that's not. We all came here. I don't remember how that worked.
Yeah, I thought someone said that to me at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, the grade schools all stayed, and then the 7th and 8th came here briefly. And then they switched it all out, and then the 6th, 7th, and 8th were in Easton, while the grade schools all came here. So.
Yeah, I had that discussion. I don't remember who I was talking to, but we had that discussion one day, and I didn't realize that. Like, I don't think, not that I would have probably, because with it being in one of the first couple of years.
Yeah, because I came here and my room was the middle room in the middle school hallway there.
Right.
What is it, room? I don't even know the room number.
68, I think, the halfway point. At the end of the hallway?
Yes, room 68.
Yeah.
I started out there, and then I also was moved into, at one point in time, I was in what is now the special ed office here in the hallway. That was the classroom.
Right.
I've been all over.
Yeah.
I did that teacher appreciation thing where you fill out how many times you've moved, and I put 11, but I really think it's more closer to like 14 after I start going, oh, yeah, I was in that room. Oh, I was in that room.
Yeah, just in the time that we've even been over here from Easton, how many times, times you've moved just since we've been in this building this time around.
Yeah,
so.
And I don't have, they're like, well, you better start taking your stuff home. Well, when you've moved as many times as I I don't have a lot of stuff to take home because you just kind of start packing lightly because you never know where you're going to end up. So.
Right.
But it's been good.
So our next question, what's your favorite thing about Illini Central?
Gosh, and there's so many. And, I talked to the girls at lunch, well, Laurel, because Mrs. Giesler and you, I think, are the only ones left.
Of the middle school, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, from the middle school and even the high school.
Yeah, Mrs. Davis, I think, was here when I got here. So in the last 21 years, I'm pretty sure she was here.
Yeah.
Can't remember when Mrs. Price got here, whether she was here when I got here. Had this discussion with somebody the other day too, but
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
And my answer to that always goes back to Easton. I mean, my absolute favorite part of my career was all of the time that I spent in Easton.
Right.
It was so nice when we had the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade over there, and we did so many, and because you were there for most of it.
Right.
All of the things that we were able to do because we had our own building, we had our own identity. Identity is a big thing.
Right.
That when you push everybody together, you kind of lose that identity. But we did so many things. Our thematic units and the field trips and Well, we played a lot of practical jokes.
Right. We may or may not have had some laughs over that time over there.
We maybe had a few laughs, and then it's just been really good watching. I don't know, like I said, I look back on Easton, and it was just good.
Yeah, our enrollment has changed so much in the 21 years that when I got here, we were just seventh grade teachers, and we weren't doing cross grade level, and
Yes.
which made that identity harder, because you had your seventh grade team and your sixth grade team and your eighth grade team, and
Yeah.
our graduating classes have dropped a lot,
Yeah.
and that's played a big part in why weren't able to do it the way we did
Yes.
it when I
'Cause
got here.
I remember those, like my kids' classes were upper 80s, close to 90 kids.
Right.
And
Hmm.
now we don't have even half of that in some of
Yeah.
our classes. So that has made a big impact on how we do things.
Yeah, it's doing it, especially being able to continue to do it the way you guys were doing it before I got here, and then the way we did when
Yeah.
I first did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling, I think it might have been after you in Canberra the other day. I don't remember if it was when you were in here. Like, I had 35 kids in one classroom that first year, 35
Yeah.
seventh graders. I mean, 39 kids graduated from high school in my youngest's class. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
his whole grade level. So,
and,
I mean, those first couple of years that I was here, yeah, the class sizes were
and
pushing 80.
we didn't bat an eye at having 35 kids.
Right. In a small room at the time,
Yeah.
yeah.
We just,
This
it's
is
what we did.
right. Yep. It's
But
totally different.
that again shows how things have changed as far
Right.
as our population and our
Yep.
demographics and
Right.
all kinds of and that's what people don't understand. There's so many things that come into play
Uh-huh.
when we make decisions about
Right.
how we are going to pursue the education of these kids.
Right. The best interest of the kids.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. So, with this retirement, what are you looking forward to the most?
Oh, golly gee. I am looking for, well, it's going to be nice not to set an alarm. I'm not going to lie. But I have grandbabies. I mean, I have Lenny that lives with me, of course, and then I have Boone.
Hmm.
And then my oldest Corey, he's going to have a little girl come September. And
Right.
just looking forward to being grandma. And I'm really looking forward to just figuring out who I am again.
Right.
The last couple of years have been, my world has been turned upside down, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be nice to figure out who Pam Babbs is instead of who Mrs. Babbs. I've always been Mrs. Nykerk or Mrs. Babbs, and now it's
Right.
like,
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean,
Yeah, because I think, and this is from that perspective, is if you care, and you do, and you have, this place consumes a lot of your mind, even when you're not in this building, and your
Right.
heart, even when you're not in this building. And that will
Right.
be a change. Like, you won't have to, how am I going to help this kid succeed? And how am I going to, yeah, so that will definitely be a change.
Yeah,
And it'll
yeah.
be a welcome. I mean, it'll be
it
a
will
good
be,
change.
Yes, yeah.
It'll be,
'Cause, I mean, you do get tired. I still love coming here every day. The kids, the people.
hmm
But my son said when I took in when my granddaughter came full time, and he said, and he was just being Corey, and he's like, haven't you raised enough kids?
Right.
And because my own two would always make comments about, and
hmm
how the time you spend with other people's kids takes away from time that you could have been
Yeah.
with them. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you're ever, that's, when people complain or joke about teachers getting 3 months off in the summer, you need that time to recharge your batteries, because it's a lot on your heart, and it's a lot on your mind through the school year. So,
And even in the summer, you still have some of those kiddos that you just,
right, you're still worrying about them.
yes, like, oh gosh, I hope, well,
I
'cause
hope
you-
they're okay.
yeah,
Yep.
you hope yeah, exactly.
hope they're
Are they
okay.
okay? Is everything going
Yep.
well?
So that'll be one thing you won't have to stress as much about, but there will still
Right.
be part of you probably will be thinking about some of the ones that you've
Yeah.
built a relationship
Yes.
with over the
Well,
past
and
couple of
and
years.
you do have those kiddos that, no matter what, they still show up, or they text you, or they
Right. Yep. I
contact
still have
you
that too. Yep.
as adults
Hmm.
out of school, but they still check in, and they kind of keep you updated on what you're doing. And
Right.
I told my sixth graders, it was yesterday, and I said, the worst part about retiring is the fact that, because they've made such good gains, and
Right.
I'm really proud of the kiddos that I have. And I said, it's just that I'm not going to get to finish, because I have the same kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Yep.
So I see what's going on when they're in 6th grade and what they've done.
Yeah.
And I just said, I just feel a little guilty about leaving them, but
Right. But when are you going to ever, you would never
No,
would that.
I know,
You'd never be able
that's
to
right.
that. Right.
That's right, you would
You'd
never
never be able
leave.
to. Right.
Yeah, so
So what hobbies are we going to try to pick up as we have all
Well,
this free time now? Not
yeah.
not total free time,
Well,
but
yeah.
things
Well,
to do to keep you busy beyond grandkids.
I mean, I like to be outside, so Lynn and I are starting a habit of we try to go out and walk.
Yeah,
Thank goodness she likes to be outside. I want to get back to being me as far as
yeah,
getting a little bit of exercise in. I like to read, so I'm going to be reading.
right.
And I told my friend Betty Edison, who's another former teacher, and she plays golf. And I'm like, well, maybe Betty and maybe I'll take up golf
Yeah,
again
yeah,
and just see because I mean, those are all things I used to enjoy a lot.
right.
And then life gets in the way.
It's
And
hard
you
to find
kind
time.
yeah, exactly. So,
Hmm.
and of course, we live out on the river and our own little piece of paradise. So I've got fishing and I've
Yeah,
got,
which will be fun and nice
yes,
and
yeah. So I have there's things I like to do that I'm going to hopefully get to do more of.
right.
Um,
That's a good thing.
yeah.
And I saw a good friend from high school a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about, you always say, well, we need to get together every time you see each other, which is about 4 years in between times.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's 4 years. So now you'll have that time because you won't be pulled in Illini Central's direction and things like
Yeah.
that,
And
which is a good thing.
yeah. And I do have acquaintance. Well, now they're pretty good friends now. Then they're women that are older than I am. Not a lot, but but it's like, well, they go and do this, and I'm like, well, I can come and
Yeah,
hey, I can go start going doing with
yeah,
that and it's a totally different group of people than I'm used to hanging out with.
right. Yeah,
Because when you work at a place as long as I've worked, my friends are all right
hmm,
down this hallway here,
yep,
which is something that's kind of scary.
right.
It's like, who are you going to talk to? What's going
Right.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm so used to Laurel Giesler and I, and you.
right.
I mean, those are faces that you can talk to about anything, and
Hmm.
we've been through a lot.
Seen a lot, right?
Yeah, we've seen
In
it.
our
We've
in our
seen
in our
yes,
here and in our own lives.
yes,
So
we have seen.
so along those lines, what do you think you're going to miss the most?
I'm gonna miss. I will miss the friendships, and there's still gonna be friendships. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it that way, but
yeah,
I'm gonna miss the people I work with. Middle school staff. I'm sorry, but I've always said it's one of the greatest staffs.
yeah,
Even as people leave and new people come in, it just seems like we can always click
yeah,
um, I will miss, and I'll miss the kids. Obviously you like kids if you do this gig
yeah,
for as long as I've done it. And
yeah.
some of them are a little ornerier than others, but
Right.
so I'll miss this place. It's going to be hard not to come in here and just continue to see. I mean, we've got the new gym going up and the
Right.
addition over on that
Hmm.
side, and it'll kind of, those are things you miss.
And the best part is you can still come back and visit. It's not like
Yes.
you couldn't come back whenever you wanted,
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm hoping if they see my face at the door that they'll buzz
They'll
me
let you
in.
in, right? Yeah, they'll let
Maybe
you.
not. It depends on who's answering the door that day, but
Yeah, you won't be far away, and
yeah.
obviously with those of us that you're close to, you'll still know what's going
Right,
on. So,
right. And Camber brought up too, it'll be nice to, like the grandbabies coming through the district.
right. Yep.
I'll be the grandma now. They'll
That's
come in
right.
and get to do all
Do the grandmas,
grandma stuff.
things. That'll be
Yeah,
fun. You'll
it will.
enjoy that.
Yeah, grandbabies are great. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
They're great.
I can wait a little bit longer, but
Yes.
I will.
Yes, but when
I'm sure you are correct in that.
Yes. When it happens, you'll be like, oh,
I think the next question the kids had for you was a little more difficult when you've done this for that long. But do you have a favorite memory? Can you pin it down to a couple, not even a couple of things, but that's a
I
hard one. I couldn't answer that one myself,
yeah.
just because there's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's just so many things that we've done, and especially, over in Easton, there's things that pop into my head, but whether I should, some
Just
of my,
things
some
we
of
would
it maybe
joke
I should,
about, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and just the things we do, but we've done some, and I was thinking back too, we had at one time, we had like a Christmas walk, so we decorated outside, and for the parents to come in, we did Christmas walks. There's just been so many things
Yeah.
that you can't just say one thing.
Right. I don't. That would be
Uh,
very hard to do, to pin that down to
Yeah,
one
to
thing.
one thing, because every time I think about it, I think of something different.
And I think trying to put myself in your position, it's all kid based, and
Yeah.
you love
It,
like you
it
said, even the ornery ones, even the ones that
yeah,
when you went around and around with, you loved every one of them the
yeah,
best you could. And how do you pick one over one memory over another
Exactly.
when you've been able
Exactly.
to do what you've been able to do for the past 35 years.
Yeah, and we have. I mean, we've loved these kids unconditionally, and we've had kids that unfortunately, um, have passed away,
Right.
whether they were in
Yeah.
school or shortly after school, after they've gotten out of school. So, I mean, we're in it for the long run, and you can't just pinpoint it to say, oh, you remember that time? That's my
Right.
favorite.
Yeah. I could never do that
Yeah,
either.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so many.
It's nice that you have the situation where it is difficult to remember to pick one out.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a good thing, actually.
absolutely.
So the last question that they had for you, and I think it's one that I know you've thought about over your life because I think about it myself. How do you want to be remembered?
Wow. And that's a tough one. It's hard to think of how do you, because I'm not one, I don't like to talk about myself anyway, so,
Right.
but I would like to think people will remember me for being one who just, I truly care.
Right.
Truly cared about
Yep.
the staff and the parents and the kids and every component of this. And I would like to think that, if I could help in any way that to make something better,
Right.
that I would be the one to jump in
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be remembered a team player, caring. That's a hard one.
I think, and obviously I have a different perspective, and it's different than when Camber interviewed you at being 17. Our rooms were next to each other for years, and you
Yes.
were on the 7th grade team when I got here. And I know the impact that you've made on so many kids, and that you were the person that helped them get through.
Yeah. Well,
And that will be your legacy. That's how you'll be
I
remembered.
hope so. I mean, that's how you hope things, whether it's the kids or the people or the,
Right. Being a special education teacher like you were, you helped kids who needed help in certain different ways, and they were all different. And people don't even understand how difficult being a special education teacher is, and that's just talking about the paperwork and the things that you have to
yeah.
do.
Okay,
One of the
I
things you
won't
won't miss, right?
that. Yeah,
One of the things you will
absolutely.
not miss. And if you're watching or listening to this, and it's gotten worse as you've
Ugh.
got to where you are now. But your
Yes.
legacy will definitely be one that a person that was always there for your kids and always helped them out. And that's how I think you'll be remembered.
Well, thank you.
So I appreciate you sitting down with me. And on behalf of Illini Central, we can't thank you enough for the last 35 years. And we hope you enjoy retirement and come back and visit us as well.
Oh, I will, and I want to thank Illini Central
It's,
for letting me
it's
be
right.
here for 35 years
Yep.
and do the things that I enjoy doing.
Well, thanks again for sitting down. Tune into the next one of these we do on the Cougar Connection podcast.